Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Wednesday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe at Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. Oh, yes. Some things sound funny through the microphones. Do I sound funny?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, Syracuse pulls out a win against NC State despite being out-rebounded by 8 at home. They improve their Quad 2 record to 2-3 and keep their dancing hopes alive. So, got 5 left to go. You'll hear from us. We'll hear from you in this one. And the Orange will host the Blue Devils this Saturday at 6 o'clock. We'll let you know what we think about that as the season winds down. We're here. We're on time. And things are back on track, seemingly. So, and we have the ACC tournament. So,
Oh, yeah.
And look, Syracuse is not bad in the ACC right now. Not bad at all. So, right there.
Sure.
They're right there. All right. So, Joe, well, let's just get after it, dude. Let's get after it. Let's hear what Coach had to say following the win.
Great game. Great game.
I thought we were getting a little bit tired at the end, but down the stretch, this is the first one of these games. We've had two here against really good teams, and we just couldn't make a play right at the end. And today we made the plays at the end that you have to make to win, made our free throws. Judah made a couple great drives and made his free throws. At the end, the last play, we played really good defense. They didn't get anything to look at. And, we wanted to really move out on their three-point shooters, make it hard for them. We knew we'd give them some stuff inside. Clark really hurt us. He hasn't been playing. He's back. He's a really good offensive player. He really hurt us down there in the low spot and stepping out. But when they took the lead, we made a couple big plays. Every time they took the lead at the end, we made a big play. We weren't able to do that earlier. Obviously, if Jesse makes a three, we should figure out a way to win. But every time we got a 5 or 7 point lead, we'd make a mistake. We didn't make a layup, didn't convert an easy play, and they scored at the other end. Smith is a tremendous shooter. We did an unbelievable job on him for a long time, but when you bank them in from the deep corner, that's not easy to do. But we just stayed the course. I thought, Chris, I thought was good tonight. Joe was really good. Judah, for us to win, we have to have everybody. I thought there were some rebounding situations that, we just didn't get the ball at the end there. I thought there was some situations where we should have been able to secure the rebound. We didn't get it, and they scored. That hurt. But at the end, we made a couple plays right at the end, and that was the difference in the game.
Jeff, what did you think of the way Jesse matched up with DJ Burns, their big man, as the game progressed?
Well, it really ended up being a matchup one-on-one because we left him alone in there against Burns, and Burns is tough. He makes that little push shot. He's really good. I've watched him all year. I mean, he's a good passer. He's got that little shot in there in the mid-post area. And then, he's going to have trouble guarding Jesse. Jesse didn't finish well for a lot of the game. He struggled. And at the end there, he finished a couple. But he still gets bumped off balance a little bit. He's getting better at it and, making progress there. I thought Joe got hit a couple times today. But, they didn't call it. But, we should get to the line more. the way we're playing, the way teams are playing against us. But,
Win like this help ignite this team as you look to make this late season?
well, we're playing as well. We've won 3 games in a row, so we've been ignited already. So we just got to keep playing and get ready for the next game.
Coach, going into this next game against Duke, is there any different feeling without Coach K on the opposing sideline?
No, I worry about their players. I don't worry about Coach K. He hasn't scored in a long time. They got really good players, and that's what we'll be looking at.
Coach, Chris played all but 6 minutes today. What's he done to earn that play time?
You know, he's getting more aggressive. He's the best shooter in that position, I think. And, I think he's always going to make a shot. He doesn't always do it, but I think he's going to. I think he's getting more comfortable. What can I say?
All right. There it is, folks. Profound answer there at the end. What else can you say? Why choose on the ice? And that's Coach. And that's why I love him. Some of y'all hate him.
As if to say, that's why I've been starting him.
Yeah, like, hello. So anyway, let's start at the top. Look, a couple things, okay? At the end of this game, first thing is making the free throws, and they were tremendous from the line, making 94%. So I would say that that's pretty damn good. And 16 for 17 is going to, that is why they won, because you're not going to win that game losing that battle in the rebounding battle. Getting out rebounded by 8 and being able to do that was the difference. Also, the defense in the first half I thought was really good. And we went up into the half up by what, 4, 5 or something like that.
No, NC State wasn't hitting shots either.
They were not hitting shots, but we weren't great either. But to be able to claw back in too, and when things look like they've been going to get ugly this year, just in general, there's been a few games that have gotten away from Syracuse, but just in general, when things look like they've gotten ugly this year, Syracuse has definitely flipped a switch and been able to claw themselves back into these games, unlike they have in the past few years. I'd say more consistently, I should say, because they've done it, but it's been more consistent.
And they went in a big run there, went up, like 17-10 or 19-10 or something like that.
Yes,
and it was like, oh, man, here we go, But we end up going ahead and, we went into halftime up 35-31.
Yeah, and, Judah at the end, there was an offensive series or sequence at the end of the game, towards the end of the game, that had me a little nervous with Judah, but he was down there trying to do things I think he were a little bit above his head, but nonetheless made some free throws, able to do it. And like Coach said, if Jesse's gonna nail a 3 with 2 seconds left on the shot clock, you got to win that game. If you didn't think at that point, think about this, if he does make that shot with that kind of effort from those guys, and they lose this game with all of the stats at the free throw line, that's a soul crushing loss, and it would be the third one, and it'd probably be the worst one that we've suffered so far this year at home, right? So Jesse makes that 3. I'll tell you, he was phenomenal. He struggled, I think, a little bit.
He could have
early.
been way better.
Yeah.
He missed some bunnies.
Yes, exactly. Chris Bell missed a couple too.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like what Coach, going into Coach's next comment, there was times where we got a 5 to 7. Well, I don't know about 5-7 point lead, 6 point lead, where it looked like we had some opportunities to really break that game open, and we missed the shot, or we didn't get the offensive rebound and they got an easy putback or something like that. So, there's still, the fact that we won, that's great, but there's still plenty of room for improvement right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when you talk about Terquavion Smith and his ability to shoot 4 for 12 from 3, he had a couple, he hit like 2 in a row, almost on the broadcaster request to do so, but he hit a couple in a row and it looked like he was going to get hot, but he never really did. And we talked coming into this game about how Syracuse has. Look, you got to have a little bit of luck. I think you always have to have a little bit of luck against a team that can shoot like the way NC State was shooting, right? Especially with the 3 guys. So there is that. But I do feel like Syracuse did an excellent job. You saw how spread out, how far out they pushed that zone, and how they were able to really, in the first half, just kind of control the outside shots, which is why, Burns makes you a little nervous. That's exactly what I was nervous of. And Joe, you were right. Speaking of which, you thought that there was a good possibility that with him and Jesse battling down there and having those outside shooters, that there could be a possibility of getting Burns in foul trouble. And he was. He probably got away with a couple that could have been called. And he got, so I feel like he got some extra chances in there and still was able to foul Burns out of the game. The guy's an animal. He's got a magical little like soft hook that he does. That's just a quick turn and shoot. And I mean, you can't take anything away from the guy, but man, it's one of those players. I'm so glad that he's just transferring now. That he didn't leave Winthrop. He was in Winthrop, right? That he didn't leave Winthrop years ago and decide to play for NC State, and have to battle that kind of guy for the past few years. So I'll take it. And, unless we meet in the ACC tournament or something, we'll have to see that again. So
yeah, well, I mean, we did talk about that, right? And we knew that they had some 3-point shooters, and then they had, Burns down low. And when you look at it, Marcel really didn't play as good as he could have, which was huge.
Yeah.
Leading the league in 3-point efficiency. He went 1 for 9, so that was huge. But you look at Joyner, I mean, he had 15 points with the triple-double. Smith had 14. DJ Burns had 15 on 7 of 10 shooting. And Clark off the bench, who we talked about, being a little bit of a taller guard to come in and possibly do some damage. And he did. And he had 15. So
coming off of an injury, hungry for some action.
So, we're lucky that they missed some open shots, and we did guard, the players as far as the 3-point shooters pretty well. And, I think that's really the Achilles heel here. You see NC State and you see their talent, right? But again, we talked about it. DJ Burns being in foul trouble plus only 24 minutes. I mean, that's more than his average, but, he's not going to give you the 30 plus that, a lot of the guys like Smith, Marcel, and Joyner all played 38-plus minutes.
He just can't travel the court.
Right, and that's really where he kind of is an Achilles heel because he is so efficient around the rim, and he's a big body. But he led the team in turnovers with 4, so he accounted for a third of the team's turnovers. And there is a little bit of a conditioning issue and a foul issue, right? So, between him and the backup center, they had 9 fouls. The backup almost fouled out in 16 minutes. So, if they're not shooting good from the 3 and then their bigs getting in foul trouble, then that's your formula to beat NC State. Now how you do it, that's on the coaches, but it worked for us last night.
And Joe Girard, look, I think I understand the rule about getting hit in the face. If there's not a foul called when you go back and look, you can't call a foul unless it's a flagrant. Is that what it is? Because I thought getting hit in the face, no matter what, was a foul, even if it was indirect, right? Or not indirect, excuse me, but unintentional, okay? So, okay, well, it wasn't a flagrant one, but they went back and looked, and Joe got hit in the face. He clearly got hit in the face. You are not allowed to swing your arms up that high for that reason. So why there wasn't a foul called, just because it maybe wasn't a flagrant one, intentional, then I'm just confused by it.
You think that charge was a makeup? You think
that charge was a makeup, and Joe did it because it could have been a flop. But you know what I'm saying? There was a little bit of an extension of the arm there, but it wasn't. I don't think it was.
It got called like that.
Yeah.
So how close it was to the last spot, right?
I think so. It was the immediate play after. Right. So, and there was a couple more I thought that were missed. And when you talk about that, you can make an argument for it. But at the end of the day, I think with Syracuse getting to the line 17 times and NC State getting to the line 5 times.
Yeah.
You know, we finally get
no problems with the.
I didn't have a ton of problems with it, but I do think that goes into the whistles. I think that it does. They don't want Kevin Keats breathing down their neck. I mean, he was part of the team at one point on the court. He was so far on the court. So, I mean, you know, there was a moment that there should have been a technical. I mean, there was a couple of things that coulda, woulda, shoulda, and probably weren't, maybe because of the discrepancy, and the refs were aware of it. And I mean, look, we came out on the winning end of it, so I'm not going to complain, but so much. Think about if the roles were reversed. If we only got to the line 5 times and they got to the line 17 times and those calls were going on, it would be a riot, okay? Because there was some very vocal moments with those fans in the Dome last night that were not very happy with some of the officiating going on. And it's never going to be perfect, but it can be fair.
Yeah.
That's all. And that's all you and I ever ask for, is that it's fair, right?
Well, consistent.
Well, consistent is fair. So, you know,
it is, but fair is also what?
Well, fair is calling.
Isn't too much,
that's
right?
true.
So,
Discrepancy shouldn't come into play when you got a whistle in your possession, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
at the end of the day, if there's one team that's playing more aggressive than the other one, I mean, you can't, you know, that's a justification for the fouls. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah. We could almost have this conversation every game.
Yeah.
And so.
And we do.
We shall. Who cares? I don't care anymore.
I didn't mind the officiating last night. There
was a couple things that,
like, you know, Joe Girard and the 3-point shot. I think he probably got fouled.
Yeah.
I think he got fouled another time, taking it to the hoop, and then he got hit in the face. So if you want to look at some of the calls against Joe Girard, then that's fair. But otherwise, I thought it wasn't that bad.
I would say that's a fair assessment. I think Joe got the short end of the stick on a lot of things. But I mean, I was unhappy with some of it, and we needed, you know, we really needed every bit of it. If they hit a 3 at the end, I mean, the thing's going into overtime.
Yeah.
And,
free throws and getting, you know, some good easy fast break buckets, using their aggressiveness against them, getting out. You know, that's what won the game, man. I mean, not to say that we didn't play tough defense and everything like that, but I mean, we missed a lot of shots that were makeable shots. We could have scored a lot more points.
21 fast break points.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's
old school
Syracuse basketball. Just going to say that. It's old school Syracuse basketball. The run and gun, some of it's a little sloppy these days, but it's the energy's there. I think the athleticism's there.
Yep.
And, you know, when you talk about the guys that are getting their hands in people's pockets, Jesse Edwards had 2 steals last night. So, you know, yeah. I mean, hey.
No, I mean, just a few plays that come.
Joe Girard on the inbounds a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, Malik Brown runs the court very well. You know, he got a dunk off a great pass on transition, but from Judah, he got an alley-oop from Judah. The one play, I don't know if it was a rebound or a steal, but Joe Girard got it. I think he dribbled up to Judah. Judah caught it, didn't even dribble, passed it up to Chris Bell for a dunk. Like, I mean, it went 3/4 court with, I think, 1 dribble, and we got a dunk off of it. Like, that's how you play transition basketball, and like you said, old school Syracuse basketball off of long rebounds and steals and stuff. Those guards got to be out there, and those wings got to be out there to make those plays, and they are, and it's great to see.
You know, when they made a little switch in the beginning of the game when things were a little dull, and coach goes ahead and he puts Benny, Justin, and Symir in, and it was clear pretty quickly that was just not going to work last night. So I was a little cringy for Symir last night a little bit, and I just think that was inevitable that you were going to have the starters finish that game out, and that just goes to my next point, and that's what Malik Brown has become and what Chris Bell is starting to do. They heard Coach talk about Chris in how good of a shooter he is. He only went 1 for 5 last night, but he did hit both his free throws. Ended up with 11 points, but only 3 rebounds again. But you see a little flashes of what he can do, and we've seen plenty of it with his shooting. But Malik Brown had kind of a quiet night for the most part. 6 rebounds and a steal, but like you said, he's so important. Yeah, but he's so important around the rim on offense too. And the way, like you said, the way that he can transition into offense from defense is just, I mean, it's something that's invaluable when it comes to looking at a box score. Kind of like the Dolezaj factor. We used to look at Dolezaj's box score and be like, it's unimpressive unless you watch the game and saw all of the things that he actually did.
Well, yeah, and like I said, you can see it. He's like a sponge. You can see how he changes, like, and adjusts and listens to the coaches on, like, the defensive end and the way that he runs. I mean, I don't ever see him tired. Like, I never see him, like, both hands on his knees, hunched over. Like, he seems like he's in great shape. Seems like he's in a lot of good places in the right times, and yeah, I mean, he does all that little stuff, dude. All that little stuff, running the court and everything. And, first time, I think, all season that all 5 starters scored double figures. But, that's efficiency. I mean, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't pop off of the box score, but
right.
10 points, 6 rebounds, a steal, and 5 of 6 shooting. So he's not, shooting bad shots.
Right.
And then how many times did you see him, and maybe it didn't work this game, but there was probably about 3 times where he popped the ball out of someone's hand playing defense. And yeah, the guy got it back, but
disruptive,
slowed things down. He's always there.
He's got the reach. He's got the reach. He's got the athleticism. And, he's a guy that came in and is playing where he's playing because he earned his spot. And you can tell that, like you said, the sponge factor, he's just soaking it in, because how he got there is probably because he's easy to coach.
Well, and that's the thing too, is you can tell the little things that he does, that stuff's not coachable. A lot of that stuff is effort. A lot of that stuff is practicing.
Oh, well, effort's what got his foot in the door, right? I mean,
well, right, and that's just little stuff that you practice your whole life because you had to do it to possibly stand out, possibly do all these other things, right? So those little things, that's not going away. So if he gets better at all the other things, and he can get a jumper, and he can get more confident, and he can figure all the other stuff out, that other stuff still isn't going to go away, which creates a superstar. So, could he be a guy that just does the little stuff and he's an efficient guy like Tyler Roberson or something for his whole career? Sure, and I would take it. But there's always that possibility, especially as a freshman, where if the sky's the limit and he's got some other skills, he could really, really be good in the future.
Yeah, and that's just it. Yeah, having a player that you can develop like that and just stay for a few years and have a home, you know what I'm saying, and not go anywhere, and get him his, he's going to have guaranteed minutes obviously next year. And, as long as none of these guys hit the portal, which, it's playing with fire, I feel like, but one can hope. And there's talks of Judah, checking his draft stock, obviously, and things like that. But, those things, the draft stuff is one thing. The transfer portal for me is another. If you're going to stay in college, I mean, Benny's maybe a different story right now, but those out of the 5 that are starting, if you're going to stay in college, it would only behoove them to come back and play for Syracuse because of the level that I think they'd be capable of playing at next year. So that is that.
Agreed.
All right. Guess what? It's time to hear from you.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, everybody, you know what to do at the end of every game. I ask for your thoughts on said game. You leave them. We talk about them here. Let's start with the Facebook. Actually, yeah, no, you know what? Hold on. I haven't looked at these yet. I looked at a couple on Twitter. Let's just start with Facebook. These look pretty simple. John, awesome game. Team played great. We need to pack the Dome Saturday. I haven't heard a buzz about packing the Dome Saturday, but a solid it has to. But a solid crowd last night. It was better than I thought, too. Just saying. When was the last time Syracuse
What
beat a
empty
ranked team, too, by the way? Did they say? Do we know? Do you know?
Don't know.
It's been a minute. So
It's our best win of the season.
it's a staple win, and it's a quad, too. So, I mean, you hang your hat on what you got.
At some point.
Do what?
Could end up being a quad 1.
It could end up being a quad 1. It probably will end up being a quad 1. It's really close. The next few are really close. So, Nate, solid win against a good opponent. That's key, right? So we hear a lot about, did what they should have done. Well, they did more than that last night. So that's a great point. Need some more of that sort of thing. Yes, absolutely. And, we got 5 games left to do that sort of thing. And there's a couple opportunities, good ones, really good ones, coming up. Robert, that's what I'm talking about. They're learning to finish. Gigantic win. Again, wasn't so much a cardiac Cuse game because we were playing ahead. And it was kind of on them. There was a good foul at the end of the game to put them at 2.5 seconds to inbounds and get something from half court. And they kind of blew it. But it's better to be in that position than the reverse, and I just felt pretty confident about it. I was pretty calm most of the game, believe it or not. It didn't look great all the time coming down towards the end of that game, but I just felt like they had to win that game.
Oh, they did, but I was
nervous. I know. Were you?
Yeah.
It wasn't like your typical cardiac Cuse game, though.
It wasn't.
Yeah. Right. Top fan Steve on Facebook finally came together, fired on all cylinders. This team has talent, just needed to blend. Not done yet. Need to get more. So we're looking at the next 5 games. Joe, what are your thoughts on Syracuse in the next 5? 3 out of the next 5 is a must, I would think, right?
I don't. It's too hard to tell, man.
Is it? You think so? Really?
I think it's too hard.
There's only 5 games left.
But we're not in good standings when it comes to certain stuff like that. I mean, we're still 95 in the net, 88.
Oh, I know. We went up to 95 from 98, right? So
yeah. So, I mean, it's a situation where there's still not enough. There's not enough good wins, man.
Well, if you get 3 out of the next 5, so okay, fair enough. So
but it depends on what 3, right?
Okay, Duke, Clemson.
We beat Duke and Clemson, I think.
Georgia Tech.
Even if we beat Duke this Saturday, I think that you would see a decent little jump in the net and in KenPom, and then you can start talking about the other games. You
Winning 2 out of the
can't lose. We can't lose to Georgia Tech. You got to assume you got to beat Georgia Tech and Wake Forest the last 2 games.
You do,
but I don't think a win in one of the next 3 is going to be enough.
No. Well, okay, fair enough. If that's how you gauge the wins because of the have to haves.
I mean, I'm kind of on the edge of we almost have to go undefeated.
See, I just don't foresee going undefeated and then being able to do much of anything in the tournament. I'm trying to be realistic and present an option that sounds reasonable.
And that's the thing that's just, I think, what it is. I mean, we don't have the resume. We don't have the strength. I mean, there was that stat where I think we've won, maybe 5 games against teams over 500. It's not, we don't have a great resume.
Well, there's not a ton of teams under 500, is there? Is there a lot of teams under 500? And are we talking for the season or are we talking ACC
for the season?
Okay, well that's not a great stat.
So
those 2 wins early, those 2 losses early, excuse me, they were just not good.
Well, and that's the thing is we have that, and then we have all these other games like Pittsburgh, Miami, North Carolina, Virginia that could have changed some of those things, and we just didn't. We didn't finish. Yeah, it's before this game, our best win was Virginia Tech, and they seemingly seem to be falling apart. I mean, right now they're losing to Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech right now.
Well, they lost to Boston College.
They lost to Boston College as well, right? Yeah. So
they beat.
I guess that helps us a little bit because
UVA though. They beat UVA.
Yeah, they beat UVA and us, and then they seem to be back to their losing ways. So I don't know what that really looks like, but I guess my whole thing is that even if we win all 5, I still think that just kind of even right there. I mean, I think it just puts us right at the bubble.
And Boston College sucks too, by the way. So there's that.
They have their days.
Okay.
They play tough. They have their days.
Fair enough. My goal is 3 out of the next 5. See what you can do in the tournament. That's my realistic expectation. 3 out of the next 5. See what you can do in the tournament, and let the chips fall where they may.
I would like to win the next 2.
Okay.
And then see where the talk is. See how much we jump. See how close we really are. You know what I mean?
Oh, I thought we'd move a little bit more than 3 spots in the net after the NC State win.
Well, yeah, me too. But and that's the thing is, there's people talking about how they think that right now we're not even lined up to be in the NIT.
Well, that's crazy talk.
Gone are the days of just 20 wins and it gets you somewhere.
Well, you wouldn't get 20 if you got 3 more. Oh, but in the tournament. But
right.
For the regular season, you wouldn't get 20.
I mean, I don't think. What did we say? Yeah, we have to get to 20 just to even probably be in conversation going into postseason.
You gotta look back on some of these things if we end up that way and think what could have been, and that's always a rubbing salt in the wound kind of thing for me. But what could have been? What could have been against UNC?
Super close too.
What could have been against Miami? What could have been against Pitt first time around at home? Those types of things linger the whole year. What could have been against Bryant if we didn't
against Bryant?
Yeah. Yep. So
I mean, who knows? Who knows where we are if that game? It's just that game is switched over.
Definitely takes away one of those bad quad 3 losses.
Oh yeah, 17-9. But I'd like to see what our net ranking is, and you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff. I would like to see how bad that game actually hurt us.
Yeah, we'll never know. Joe P. on Facebook, nice to see them overcome a terrible offensive first half from Jesse and a poor game from the 3 other than Jesse. Great win. Hope they keep the momentum rolling. Jesse, just like we talked about earlier, I mean, he just missed some easy stuff that he normally makes, and I think it just took him a minute to get adjusted to the size of Burns. And
he should have had 28.
He could have had 28, yeah. And
that was the thing. We won. That wasn't even our best game.
I mean, you can make an argument for that. You could.
Can you? We missed some easy shots.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, if the saying, you know it. You know it. I'm not even gonna say it.
I know.
It was all last year missing the bunnies. Remember that? That's all we talked about. I feel like. You remember? Benny, the bunny misser, if I remember correctly. That's what you dubbed him. Top fan Dave on Facebook finally closed against a ranked team. Much needed, much deserved. Go Orange. Yeah, man. Look. We deserved it because we won. That's just how that goes. But much needed, absolutely. Still a quad 2. Could end up a quad 1. I think NC State is they're 23rd. They'll probably fall out of the top 25, but there's a good possibility they could work their way back in. I mean,
they play North Carolina.
I was going to say they've got they can't lose that game. That's for damn sure. For their sake, because I just don't know if North Carolina is a legit anything to be. That's going to move you back into the rankings, I guess I should say. Is that fair?
North Carolina is still a team in the tournament.
Yeah, I know, but does that going to get you back into the top 25?
No, I don't know.
I don't think so. That's what I'm saying. But they do have Clemson and Duke too to close out the year. So you in Wake Forest, right? So they could possibly win all 4 of those games, and if they do, that's a quad 1 win by the end of that, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
All right, let's talk our buddy Nadal. All right. Calling out Sean for giving up on his team and picking against us. We got this, baby. Yeah, well, you know what? What did I say, though, Nadal? I did say that, sometimes these things work. Here's the thing. I'll never bet on Syracuse. I'll bet against Syracuse, and if they win and I lose money, then whatever. And if they lose and I win money, then whatever. How can you go wrong? Sometimes you just got to go with the gut. I love to do the homer picks all the time, but if I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it. I can't, you know. You know what I'm saying, Joe? Joe was good. Joe did good with his pick. And I was impressed. I was impressed because of what he said about Burns and Jesse and what I was worried about. What I was worried about did happen, but it happened in the beginning. Jesse overcame it, and inevitably it was a situation where Jesse got the better of Burns, man. Let's just be honest. You know, Burns had to lay his head on a pillow last night going, damn, Jesse Edwards got the best of me, man. And look at the size of me. And he got the best of me. Yeah. Joe had 72-70 win. And I had 77-76 loss. So, man, we're right there with the numbers, though. Really good. Yeah. Really good. Okay, let's switch over to the Twitter and do a couple of these real quick. At Oil Cuse. You know what? I'm giving this guy the cheers. If I'd have thought about it, Cap, I would have broke out the Blantons and done that tonight. But I'm going to tell you what. I'm saving it for Duke, and we'll go from there. Worst case scenario, if we don't get something monumental through the rest of the season or in the tournament, I will take the Blantons down in the last basketball episode of the year and just, you know, drown myself in tears and Blantons. That's the plan. So, anyways. Hell yes. FNIT State. We have much more talented than Mintz was getting pushed all night, especially in the first half. Needed some more fouls called. We're going to crush Duke. LFO. What's LFO? Do you know?
No.
I don't either. Cap always getting me with something in his comments. But yes, look, I think the way Judah plays, he gets fouled way more than what is called. Just by his natural play. It's not even close. Great. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. At Michelle A. Malou, I loved it. I loved it. See what I did there on Valentine's Day. Yes, very clever. Very clever. We all loved it.
Yes.
Correct? Correct. Let's see. There's no meat here, guys, on Twitter. Twitter usually saves me. And
there's more meat than Facebook.
Yeah, right? At Jay Bullman, we should have 5 more wins, and it kills me. Those are my constant thoughts. Right? Yeah, and if it's going to be a season where we don't end up making the tournament, I think, like I said, I think we can all look back on that, and that's kind of, you can sit there and dwell on it. But here's the thing, Syracuse finished sub 500 last year, and it's not going to happen this year.
No.
So there's that, right? And that is an improvement. I think we've got a team, if it stays for the future, and even if it's only 1 more year. But with that said, eyes on the prize. Eyes on the prize. What?
I'm not giving up.
I'm not giving up either. I'm not even giving up either, bro. But you're talking
this team is way better than
you're talking about going 8-0 to finish. Huh? Yeah, they're way better than their record. I would think that anybody watching the game realizes that. But you're talking about going 8-0 to finish the year, going into the ACC tournament. That's a tall order. It's a tough.
Yeah, but that's also a message.
Yeah, it is a message. Then you go in the ACC tournament, and what do? You lose your first game because you're pooped. Adam Eldridge, 2. Great game. Fun facts. 1, Edwards is shooting 100% from 3 in his college career. I love this. Syracuse has won every single game against ranked teams in which Jesse has made a 3-point bucket. This is the first game in Jesse's career where he made a 3-point shot but did not foul out. All of those things are true. This is all true, Adam.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I just saw this tweet. I did not troll it earlier. That's excellent. It shall be retweeted. Wish I would have saw it last night. I try to keep my powder dry after the game. Well, you know what I'm saying?
And that's another thing too. Like last night, I think is a little bit of an anomaly based upon like the minutes played for subs and stuff like that, I think that is like we didn't play the best efficiency game, but as far as like minutes wise and stuff like that, I think that was one thing I noticed. It was like we never played a lot longer past like the TV timeouts, and there was timely timeouts because there was runs, right? And then we managed our fouls. Like no one was in foul trouble. You're not going to see the starters get minutes like that if that doesn't happen perfectly. And of course, that's best case scenario, right? If you get those 5 out there and you manage your fouls and all of these timely timeouts make it to where you're not tired,
Right.
best case
Where you
scenario,
get
right?
breaks.
And
Yeah.
that last night that's why you saw the minute discrepancy. That's not going to be every game, but those are the best 5, and we could have shot better, and that could have been we could have taken that game over, and we didn't. And I think that was what Jim Boeheim was trying to say in his press conference. But that's going to be best case scenario when you're talking about starter minutes and how much they played and stuff, because that game just played out perfectly for rest.
Yeah. I'm going to do two more, and then we're going to move on to Duke. At
You're
James,
do 2 s'mores?
2 s'mores. At James Curtin, Keats and Burns were screaming about the restricted line on the 5th foul charge, and it's insane to me that a college head coach and a player would have no idea what the rules are, and I'm baffled by that. Well, I got to be honest with you. I was a little nervous about that because I didn't realize the primary defender could be inside that arch.
That's why we've gotten charges called on us in there this year.
Oh, okay.
If you've noticed
well, that makes sense. I mean, look,
Jesse was in the restricted area.
That's what I'm saying.
Remember when there was a charge called on Jesse? I don't know. I forget what game it was, but he fouled out. Was it Virginia?
Because he charged someone that was in the primary defender in the restricted area?
No. Well, no. They called a block on Jesse, but he was in the restricted area. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense.
It's just weird to me how
I always get nervous when they're not outside of the circle.
When they're not outside of it, I get nervous too. And when you watch it and watch that play in real time, it looks like a charge all day. I mean, Burns lowered into him.
Yeah.
And if you lead with the shoulder, it should be a charge regardless. But when you slow it down, Jesse looked like he was shuffling over, but everything happens so damn fast, so bang bang. But yeah, I mean, there was a couple times when Keats, coaches are going to scream at that, and it's not about knowing the rules; it's about getting in the ref's head. It's about watching a game start to slip away, and the player that was making a big difference all night when he was on the floor is about to take a walk to the bench, and that's what that is. It's pure emotion, right? So, yeah. I mean, I do get it, but I think he did worse when he was before all that, when he was halfway out on the floor almost as a defender and screaming at refs and stuff. So, I mean, look, whatever. Some of that stuff is referees are human. And
there's a human error.
They have human error and they have human biases, right? So there's that. This, though, at Paul Carmola.
Got that?
Got it. Ready? At Paul Carmola. Okay. Paul, great guy. He said that handshake. So, yeah, Joe, you're the lip reader. What was going on there? Because I was on social media, but I kept looking up. But there was a lot of smiling from Coach Boeheim at the end of that game when he was in the handshake climb with Kevin Keats. What was that all about?
Honestly, I did not go back.
Oh my gosh. You suck. The one thing I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder what they're saying. And then the broadcaster said it, and I'm like, Joe's watching. Joe's the bad lip reading guy. He'll know what they said, and he'll tell me, which is why I didn't rewind it and go back and check it.
So, from what I gathered from it, and this is just an outsider view, it really wasn't talked about. But to me, I think that Keats probably said something smart about the call and the Burns call and all that crap like that. And Boeheim probably didn't take too kindly of that and probably brought up a couple calls that he didn't get. And at the end of it, they both walked away laughing. So I don't know how tense of a moment it was but it looked pretty serious in the beginning. But I think a lot of it was more or less, like you said, it was the emotion. It was the calls at the end of the game and what probably the coaches thought were calls that probably determined the game.
Well, fair enough. But
I'll tell you what. I'll go back.
you're going to come back with that?
I'll come back.
Okay. All right. Well,
It's tough because I didn't see Keats. You
true,
don't see Boeheim.
but Boeheim was clear as day. If I was to rewind it, maybe even I could have done some work with that. But I figured you did. So,
Sorry, bud.
anyways, the win is in the books, and we move on to Duke right now. All right, the all-time series between Syracuse and Duke sits at 6-14 in favor of Duke. Currently, the Blue Devils are on a 7-game win streak against the Orange. You have to go all the way back to January 14th, 2019. This is pre-COVID stuff when Syracuse came into Cameron Indoor unranked to face number 1 Duke and won in overtime 95-91. It would be the first and only time Duke would ever lose to an unranked team at home while they're ranked first. So, Syracuse, baby. It's a great, I love that they hold at least that in this series. It's something, right?
Yeah.
There's a couple other epic wins, but they hold that. Tyus Battle that night led Syracuse with 32 points. Last year, Syracuse ended up playing Duke 3 times, the last of which lost in the ACC tournament. We all remember Buddy wasn't there. Score was 79-88 or 88-79.
Valiant effort by Jimmy.
Valiant effort by Jimmy. He had 28 points. Gerard with 23 points. Gerard, Samir, Sidibe, Jimmy, and Swider, your starters. As you remember, Jesse was he was injured, right? And that was the wrist and all that. So, but that starting 5 to do what they did in that game, pretty valiant effort, I would say. So The Blue Devils are currently 18-8, 9-6 in the conference. Duke, Wake, and Syracuse are all still tied for 6th place in the ACC standings. Duke, they're coming off a win last night against Notre Dame, giving them a little bit of fits, 68-64. This after losing the last 2 games, Duke, that is, to Virginia in overtime and Miami. Freshman center Kyle Filipowski leads the team in points with 15, rebounds with 9, and steals with just over 1 per game. And, this is a very young but athletic team. They're averaging just over 71 points a game. They're hitting 43.7% of their shots from the field. And from 3, they're 32.4. And from the line, they're 76.6 as a team. So, obviously Duke is going to be solid. If you want to say they're having a down year, I guess you could, but they're still ranked 33rd in the net right now. Obviously a tournament team. And even with them ranked 33rd, this game at home is still a quad 2. So quad 2 game for Syracuse in the Dome before they hit the road for a couple. And, obviously we're looking at the similar situation to NC State, Joe, where you win this game as a quad 2, and through the rest of the year, you hope that it ends up as a quad 1. They're right there. So quad 2 starts at 31st in the net. So they're 33rd. They could easily crunch into the quad 1 bracket. So tell us more, Joe. There's a lot of freshmen on this team, and a lot of really good freshmen. Of course, there's a couple familiar names, mainly one familiar name. What's his noggin?
Filipowski.
Well, Filipowski, yeah, but he's a
Roach.
freshman. Yeah, Roach.
Yeah. So, lately they have been starting 4 freshmen and then Jeremy Roach, the junior guard, 6'2" junior guard, alongside the other the freshman guard, 6'5", Tyrese Proctor, and Mark Mitchell, a 6'8" freshman forward, with Filipowski as a 7-foot freshman, and Derek Lively is a 7'1" freshman. So that's what they've been starting the past, couple games. And that's a really big team.
It's
You're
a
talking
big
7'1", 7 foot, 6'8", with a 6'5" and a 6'2". So Tall task. They're currently ranked I don't know if you brought it up or not, but 41 in the Ken Palm and 72 offensive efficiency, but 31 defensive efficiency. So defensively, they are pretty good.
They're long and they're athletic.
Yeah, and I mean they're Duke, and I think that they've always kind of gone off of their defense. I mean, usually they get talented enough players to where they're good enough both ends. But when you look at their schedule, this is a team that has not really lost bad games. You're talking Kansas, Purdue, Wake Forest, NC State,
Virginia Tech.
It's at Wake Forest, at NC State, at Clemson, at Virginia Tech, at Miami, and at Virginia. So I don't know if you caught my trend there.
It's all on the road.
All on the road.
So is this a deal breaker or what?
I don't know if it's a deal breaker. They're a tough team because they do rely a lot on Filipowski. They just got kind of screwed against Virginia. They probably should have went to the line and had a chance to win that game instead of going into overtime and losing. And beating Notre Dame by 4 at home, there's something going on there. And obviously you got a new coach, John Shire. First year with Coach K out, and you're starting 4 freshmen. They did have the number 1 recruiting class, mind you, with 7 incoming freshmen coming in. But they're still trying to figure it out. But all the while figuring it out, they're still winning the games they're supposed to win, which is why they're in the position that they're in. Coming off the bench, they have 6'7" freshman forward Derek Whitehead, and then they have a 6'10" transfer senior center Ryan Young from Northwestern, and a 6'6" senior guard, Jacob Grandison, that transferred from Illinois as well. So realistically, that's what you're looking at. I mean, the majority of the people that play, you got 5 freshmen, and you got Jeremy Roach, and then you got 2 senior transfers that came in from Big Ten schools. And they're trying to figure it out, just like we are, going against schools that have all these other transfers that are a little bit older and more experienced. And I think that we've seen this with Florida State, with us, with Duke. And this is a very winnable game. Obviously, the only thing I worry about is they're big guys and the rebounding situation. They do average about 13 turnovers a game, so that's another number to look at. And they do also have, Filipowski is a 7-footer. He can step out and hit threes.
Yeah.
Derek Whitehead off the bench and Ryan Young off the bench can hit threes. I mean, they have a lot of guys that are capable.
So can Jesse, Nadal says in the green room. So there.
Well, Jesse hasn't taken as many threes as...
They don't take a ton, though. I noticed the numbers aren't high. They don't take a ton like some other teams. And how many
games have they played?
How many's a ton?
No, how many games have they played?
They have played 26. 26.
So they're shooting 23s a game.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not like the 30 plus that NC State put up, but
right. Yeah.
I mean, they have, it's just not consistent. It's Duke. Okay, they have the number 1 recruiting class. They have weapons everywhere. It's just getting them to play together. And I think that's something that John Shire is still trying to figure out, which makes this a winnable game. But, I mean, they're still 33rd in the net, 41 in Ken Palm for a reason. So.
Yeah. Well.
But like I said, you look at their schedule and they struggle on the road.
They struggle on the road.
And they have a freshman team, highly relied on freshman team coming in and playing the 2-3 zone.
I was just going to say.
For the first time.
That was going to be my next point, the zone. I mean, you talk a lot about people who see the zone and can deal with it, and then there's people who've never seen it, and some of them can take it, some of them can't. Some of them can adjust, and some of them can't. Kyle Filipowski, too, coming off a game just not that damn long ago where he didn't score any points.
Virginia.
That was the UVA game. So, anything can happen. And through the next 5 games, it's not a situation where I don't think I think Syracuse can take any of those games. I just don't know if they can take all 5. But, with that said, I wouldn't count Syracuse out of anything because I think they're I think they're a bit of a conundrum for some teams.
A lot of teams.
And I think that with the way they play and the pace and the scrappiness and the just the pure grit of the team just in general, I think it catches guys off guard when you look at, well, Syracuse is, they're not going to be anything as long as, and I'm not saying players, but they're not going to be anything as long as Coach Boeheim's there.
Well, look, come on.
But I'm just.
But how many ACC games are right? We've been right there. We talked about 4 games, right? We talked about Virginia, North Carolina, Miami, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
If all those games go our way, then what is our ACC record right now?
Good. It's good.
It's called 14-2. Good.
Yeah.
It's called leading the damn conference.
Joe,
good.
Okay, I understand that.
I know
that's great. That's great.
That's how close.
It's great.
It's not.
I understand it's close, but it's not there. That's not what the record is.
No crap. I understand that, but I'm talking about the talent of the team.
I know. You're helping my point. That's what I said. It's a talented team, and it's given people.
Why can't we have the same point?
We can, but why does it sound like you're arguing with me then?
I'm not.
Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? It's the tone you're taking, and I don't like it.
I'm angry. I'm angry because it's the what coulda, woulda, shoulda. That this team is going to be a tournament team talent-wise by the end of the year. We already are. But because of our resume and the things that we couldn't finish, we're still in the conundrum that we're in.
Nadal wants to know, how many games would we have won if the refs didn't suck, Joe? You want to hypothesize that? You want to throw that into a fantasy scenario as well?
Oh, God, no.
Huh?
But probably 3.
3, you think? That's it? I was thinking upwards around 6 to 10 or maybe 12. Sounds good. So anyway, this year anyway. So, okay. Well, fair enough.
I mean, is he talking about?
It is. Do you know
how many other games? Like, I'm reading that as how many losses. What?
It's how many losses do we have because of refs?
Yeah. Like, how many would be wins if they weren't for refs? And I'd say,
I mean, a serious number is probably under 5, but something like that.
I would say there's probably 3. There's probably 3 there.
All right. Well, I was being, dramatic for effect. That's all, Joe.
Of course.
It's what you're supposed to do.
It says who?
That's like Radio 101, right? Even though it's not radio, it's Podcast 101.
Okay.
Dramatic for effect.
Sorry, I didn't read the book.
You got to draw the people in. You don't have to argue. You can't have 2 guys argue and fight that are trying to make the same point. That doesn't. Yeah.
I wasn't arguing. I was agreeing.
It was the tone you took, Joe. So, all right, let's get to this. Let me get my trusty pen out here. And
I mean, going into the game, this is probably like the most confident I've been going against a Duke team in quite some time. Going into a game.
As
far as having the ability to be able to win the game.
Last year's games were pretty much dead on arrival, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to say that this is probably the most confident that many of us have been. And, you can say what you want about Duke this year. They're still talented, but they have struggled at times, and a lot of that has to do with the experience of these players and the how much they've played together. However, it would have been a whole lot better to catch them earlier, and if they weren't going through kind of a tough stretch where they know they need to step up their game. And I always worry about teams that come in, or we go there or whatever, and we have to play teams that are maybe on the struggle bus and they use Syracuse as their catapult. And so there's that too. So that worries me a little bit. But I am going to go ahead and make my prediction, because unless you got something else to add. No? Okay. They're averaging what? About 75 points a game, something like that. No, they're averaging. What are they averaging? I'm just curious here. Let me just check this real quick. This is normally up. Everything over here is a mess right now. 71 points a game. I think we're averaging about 75. 74.6. That's really good. Do you ever think about that? We average
Number.
pretty high in the as far as the ACC goes. We average pretty high because I look at that every time we play a team. 74.6 it's up there. Anyway, with that said, look, I want this one badly. We lost 7 games in a row. It's getting pathetic. Much rather get a W with Coach K there, but I'll take John Shire any day. You know if my brother's going?
No, I don't think he is.
I don't think he is either. My brother's longtime girlfriend saw Jesse and Tops, got her picture with him right before he went off against NC State.
He had a 3.
That's right. That's the first thing I thought of was she must have been good luck. But anyways, my brother's a Duke fan growing up and living in Syracuse, and he's with a diehard Syracuse fan, and it makes for
From what I understand, he's not as
quite the
interested ever
dynamic.
since Coach K retired.
Yeah, I mean, he can say that. But
if they were 24,
but it's Syracuse, and he hates
if they were
Syracuse.
24-2, then
Well, there's that too. I was just curious. It has nothing to do with my pick. Back to my pick, though, as I totally take a turn off course there. I think in my gut, I feel like Syracuse can win this game, but I don't have the warm fuzzies about it just because of some of the dichotomy of just it's Duke, and the one thing or a couple of things that we have going for us is the fact that you mentioned none of these guys have seen the zone roach. That's it, right? So pretty much everybody else has never seen this, never experienced it. Nadal says 78-73 Cuse. I like that score. I do. Syracuse needs this game. If we want to stay relevant and we want to talk about tournament time and tournament this and tournament that, I think they have to have this game. I didn't have them winning this game at the beginning of the year, but solely judging off of their recruiting class, just, it's tough to imagine being in the position we're in, that being that, we could actually pull this off. So with that said, David in the green room, he's got 82-69 orange. We want to make it embarrassing. I like that a lot. I love it. In fact,
Oh, yeah.
I love it. In fact, but man, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is a little bit lower scoring than both of you. And I'm going to say 71-67 win for Syracuse. I'm not going to be totally wrong. It's happened once, maybe. So 71-67 Syracuse. They got to have it. I need them to win this game.
Yeah. I mean, there are some things that I worry about when I see this height. Mitchell does shoot a bunch of threes for a 6'8" forward. Filipowski shoots threes, and just because, and this is kind of playing devil's advocate, right? Like, yeah, they're freshmen, they haven't seen the 2-3 zone. It might take a little while, right? But when I see Derek Lively and Filipowski, that scares me because he can shoot threes, he can shoot around the basket. I'm sure he could probably hit mid-range jumpers. Wish he would have came to Syracuse instead of Duke, but here we are, and I have to imagine he's going to be the guy in the middle of the zone making those decisions. And he's going to be able to shoot that shot at the free throw line. And if we give that baseline away to Lively, who's 7'1", very athletic, then I can see a heyday of, alley-oops like we've seen before. Then we have to make that change and that switch.
They've done a good job adjusting to that. The little pass.
And they probably will have to. But then what that's going to do is that's going to open up the three-point shot for the guys outside. They're going to get some open shots. It's basically whether or not they're going to hit them or not. And, I feel like this just doesn't seem like a composed team to me on the road. Shire, a new coach, still trying to figure it out.
Got to factor in the crowd a little bit, I think,
Saturday
night.
That's definitely the crowd thing, right? Because they're trying to do an orange out.
Yeah, they should,
I think
too.
On top of that, I think they're doing a halftime thing with, like, the 2003 national championship team because it's the 20-year anniversary of our national championship. So I think Melo and the whole team and everyone's going to be there. Melo's son, who's a recruit that Syracuse is recruiting, is going to be there most likely. And who knows who, our boy Weitzman's going to fucking bring in. So you never know.
You had to wait till the very end of the show to drop the F-bomb, didn't you? The very end. You got this far. He's bringing DeMar Hamlin, by the way. Is he not?
I thought that's who he was bringing against the last.
Oh, that's the last home game of the season, I believe. You're right. I think that was the last home game.
There was nobody there last night. Or the other night. Right? Last night? Yeah, so.
By the way, real quick. No, go ahead. I'm not going to break your stride. Keep making your points.
No, I mean, it's just the unknown. The unknown. I don't see us getting blown out. I think we got to continue to do what we do. Jesse's got to stay out of foul trouble. We got to attack down there. I think that, that's the way we got to kind of look at it. We have Gerard, we have Judah, we have Jesse. All those guys are good one-on-one guys. They can create fouls, get to the free throw line, and that all needs to happen. Chris Bell, I think he needs to keep his intensity up with the rebounding and defense and stuff like that. But I think he's got to hit a little, at a better rate. And Malik's got to still do what he's doing, and hopefully, we get a win. But I don't know. You don't know. You got all these new guys, so who knows if they figure it out and they actually start making things happen. John Shire, he knows 2-3 zone. Boeheim taught it to Krzyzewski. They use it. So it's going to be an interesting game like Syracuse and Duke always is. But like I said, even going into some of the years in the past where we've won, I'm more confident in this game than I was in those games that we actually won. So with that said,
holy crap, spit it out already.
Sorry, yeah. I'm gonna go. We get them in foul trouble. They struggle with the 2-3 zone, and I'm gonna go 75-65.
Oh, okay. Wow, I like your score. I asked Michael in the green room for a score, and he refuses to give it. So I guess he's.
Well, that's because he likes Duke too.
Then it's because he's a secret Duke lover. That's right. He works there, went to school there. Calls himself a Syracuse fan. It's pathetic. Screw you guys. Give the damn score, Michael. Just give us a score.
Just give me the damn number.
There was a couple things. Oh, Adam Weitzman. I watched a interview with him with some guy in New York City that does interviews. I don't remember, man. But a little 75-73 Syracuse. Okay. A little bit of background on him and the trouble that he was in with his business before and stuff like that. It's really interesting. I wish I could give you the exact play. Well, if you go to his Facebook page, you can find it. I'll put it that way. But it's about 10 or 12 minutes. It's really good. He's a really soft-spoken kind of mellow dude, which I guess he didn't used to be. And someone who's been through the prison system and come out and made things better for himself and learned a lot through it and things like that. And obviously we all know what he does for the community and things like that. So I just want to give him his props for that. We know what he does with the basketball team, bringing people there and all that stuff. But just a kind of a down to earth,
football team soon.
Yeah, true. Just a kind of down to earth, like, I think genuinely good person, I mean,
yeah. Hey, look, good people make mistakes.
Good. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, did you hear the football news? First off,
no, Joe, but I bet you're going to tell me, huh?
I am. I'm absolutely going to tell you. First off, it's been pretty much reported that Tony he's making 7 figures over in Nebraska.
Okay.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a straight million, but still.
I mean, whatever.
So, if anybody was wondering why, I mean, obviously, I think there were some relationship things there, but, he definitely got a raise in moving. Matthew Bergeron was definitely turning heads in the Senior Bowl.
I knew that.
Yep. And since then, Matthew Bergeron and Sean Tucker have been invited to the NFL Combine.
Okay.
Along with Garrett Williams. So
cool.
The only one that didn't was Mikael Jones. So, and I also want to give
That's
a
kinda
shout
crazy.
out to lacrosse teams.
Yeah, the women's is ranked 4th, right?
Yep, just beat Northwestern, which has been a thorn in their side for a little while. So, big ups to the coach, Kayla Trainer, former Syracuse women's lacrosse player.
Star.
Pretty sure All-American.
Star,
She was a beast.
superstar.
She was a beast. Yeah,
Just
yeah.
won a
And
championship with
Boston College, right?
Boston College.
And then, so she transferred. It's her second year, so we'll see. And
Wasn't
then
it against
obviously-
Syracuse? Wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, that's right.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
And Gary Gate, men's teams starting off 3-0. They had a rough, Vermont first game, 7-5. I think Spalina had, the golden boy, number 1 recruit. He had 1 goal in the first game, and there was some chatter and some things, and they struggled with Vermont 7-5. And
Well, Vermont's a good team. They've won their conference 2 years in a row. They're actually a pretty good team.
You know how that goes, though. People see Vermont and they're like,
I know, but they're good in lacrosse.
But they turned around. He turned around the next 2 games, and Spalina's got 5 goals the last 2 games.
Yeah.
Sorry, 5 goals each of the
game.
last 2 games.
Right,
So,
in each game.
Yeah.
11 goals for the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're ranked now, I believe, the men's team. So, some good things to look forward to.
Yeah, some good things coming in the spring, and lacrosse is always fun to watch. My son plays lacrosse, so I've grown to really love. I actually watched Syracuse cross a little bit here and there. I wasn't like a diehard, but last year I didn't miss a game. I haven't missed a game this year. I missed parts of it, but it's just a fun sport to watch. And it's the action, and once you kind of know what the hell's going on. And my son obviously loves watching it and stuff too. Yeah, it's kind of one of those sports. It's like, well, what's going on? I don't understand the rules type thing. But
and then when you figure it out, you're like, oh,
yeah.
I think that's a lot with football too. Football's real tough, and then when people actually figure it out, they're like, okay.
Yeah, see, I just was brought up on football, so it was all.
We were.
Yeah, right. Anyway, that's it. I think that's going to do it for us. I really did have other things to talk about. There was we never talk movies and stuff, and I think we should one of these days. Because I will say, I accidentally subscribed to Apple TV and I watched Mosquito Coast. Are you have Apple TV? You don't need like Apple TV. It's like, yeah, it's just an app. You can whatever. It's cheap. It's cheaper than Netflix. It's cheaper than Prime. I think it's $6 a month. Anyway, Mosquito Coast. If you're looking for a series to binge, it's the closest thing to Ozark since Ozark, and it's really good. Like, it's only 2 seasons. That I think it seems like it ended. I think it's only 2 seasons. It's based off a novel. It's freaking good, really good. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got.
Sorry. All right. Well, I mean, all I watch and all I have time for is pretty much Yellowstone and.
See, I got to get into Yellowstone. Haven't watched 2 seconds of it, but I hear
Yellowstone's on a break. It's 1923 right now through Paramount Plus, but.
Gotcha. I'll have to get in on some of that stuff. But anyway, that is the end of that. That's why we save that stuff to the end, because I know no one's listening, so it doesn't matter. Except for David and Michael. We appreciate you guys. And Nadal, he was in there. We appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Get in the green room, damn it. Get in there. Join the fun. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.
You like what a lot, David? You like Yellowstone? You guys got to check out Mosquito Coast. If you like Ozark.
Hey, what do you mean, you people, Michael?
Screw you, Michael. Don't give me that shit. You come in here and you're just creeping around. You're all quiet. We can see you in there. You're not invisible. I asked you for the score. You didn't give me the score. I called you out. Damn it.
I know. I mean, I don't know. What do you mean, Michael? I'm not in this with you.
Sometimes.
See, David just likes the banner.
I don't know, David, one of these days, David, if you don't, hold on a second. If you don't,
you can get it.
Request to speak. I'm trying to do something. If you don't request to speak eventually, David, I'm going to be disappointed. The show's going to be off the air and you're going to regret not requesting to speak. He's trying to put his daughter to bed, but yet he's not because he's in the green room. I enjoy the dedication, though. I really do.
I did quote Dumb and Dumber earlier.
Which one?
Just give me the damn number.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. Well, you know what?
It's not working.
It's not working, he says.
That's good. Our voice doesn't put babies to sleep. That's good.
I always had to do the handoff when it was bedtime. Sorry, babe. I'm just bad at it. Here you go.